Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I just had an online meetup event where I had people from all over the world, and we all spoke English and we were discussing online business in 2020. And what I've noticed is that people who are not English native speakers were using a language that is textbook. So there were some people who are in the US and their language was completely different. And when I was listening to those people, I started noting those differences, and I decided to share my insights with you, because with these insights you will be able to speak English as a native speaker and you wouldn't sound, I would say, a little old-fashioned, because when you're using this textbook English you sound a little too academic or a little too old-fashioned. With these tips, by the end of this class, your English will be more native, will be more kind of American and modern. So if you're interested, continue watching this video. Let's start with a very basic and a very common thing. You probably know it, but not all of you are using it in your everyday speech. And this thing is reduced forms. Let's look at some examples. Instead of want to, you say wanna.
I wanna know. Wanna know what?
I wanna go to London. I wanna study in the US. Because when you say I want to study in the US, it sounds a little weird. It doesn't have this natural flow. So with these reduced forms, you're getting this natural flow to your language. Let's look at another example, and please go ahead and try saying stuff together with me. I'm going to wash the car, but you're gonna say I'm gonna wash the car.
I'm gonna go wash up.
You see the difference? You see, it's a completely different attitude. It's a completely different mood of the sentence. When somebody asks you what time is it, you can say I don't know, which is again a little strange. You say I don't know. I don't know. And this D is actually replaced with R. I don't know. You're not saying D. You don't say I don't know. You're saying I don't know. It's like I don't know. Yeah, it's weird, but this is how it works with the language. I don't know. Try it.
Listen, I don't know and I don't care.
Yes. And last but not the least, got to versus gotta. I gotta do my homework instead of I got to do my homework.
We gotta fix it. Gotta.
By the way, you can say I got to do my homework if you decide to speak British English. And this is my tip number 2. You need to decide which accent you want to adopt. Because you can speak British English, you can speak Canadian English, you can speak Australian English, you can speak American English. And there is nothing wrong with either of those accents. It's just you need to be consistent. And I started learning English with the British version and I really liked it, and I think I can still imitate my British accent. I don't know. I'm not using it at all. Maybe if I come to Britain for a week, I will get back to British accent, but I like American accent. And I would say American accent is the easiest to learn just because there are so many resources in American English. I try to speak with an American accent. There are a lot of YouTubers out there. If you take top 20 YouTubers, I think all of them will be from the US.
I'm going to be surprising my best friend Shane!
Canadian accent is supposed to be the easiest to understand. So if you're struggling with understanding native speakers, try and Google Canadian YouTubers and watch their videos first, and then once you start understanding them, maybe you just stick with the Canadian accent, or you develop your ear and you move on to American YouTubers, or you decide that Britain is your way to go and you adopt British accent. But one thing here is just be consistent with whatever you choose. By the way, guys, if you're looking for more ways to improve your English to speak like a native speaker, I have created a workbook in English which has all of the rules that you can think of. We have idioms there. We have a list of movies that you can watch in American English. We have a list of YouTubers and Instagram bloggers that you can follow who vlog in English, so you can get a sense of what real English is. We have a lot of visual examples of how to use different articles. We have a lot of tasks and tests for you. And I worked on this product for 4 months. I really hope you enjoyed. The link will be below. It's really interactive. It has a video from me where I explain you how to use it, where I explain you tenses in English, the most used tenses. It's really useful for any English language learner, and it doesn't matter which level you're at right now, because it covers almost every topic in English, and I think it's going to be really useful for you. The link will be below. We made it really affordable. It's a very small check, but it's a lot of value, and we've sold over 20,000 copies already, and we've got amazing reviews from students from all over the world, so the link will be below. Let me know what you think about my workbook. Now the next is learn to ignore fillers and also learn to use them. Let's take a look at a list of common fillers. Actually, anyway, basically, by the way, by the way, with I have a very interesting story. When I was reading a book and they had this there, and I was like, what does that mean? And I started digging it up in the dictionary and I couldn't find it, and then I started Googling it, and then I realized this is just a way to write the sound It took me some time. And if you encounter one of those filler words, don't try to translate them, just ignore them. And this is your way to understand native speakers. At the same time, if you need time to think during your speech, please feel free to insert them to get some extra time to think what you're gonna say next. Let's look at some other examples of filler words. I mean, incidentally, in fact, obviously, well, you know. Let's look at the sentence with filler words. By the way, I saw Mark yesterday. So obviously I said hello to him, but he basically ignored me. You see, we have a lot of filler words here that don't really affect the meaning. They just there for somebody who said the sentence to take some time to think about what's going to be next. Let's remove all the filler words and look at the sentence once again. I saw Mark yesterday. I said hello to him, but he ignored me. 13 words instead of 20 words. You see, it makes a lot of difference, especially if you're struggling to understand things. You just omit them and you go ahead, you save your time. You don't panic because you don't understand every single word. The next important thing, contractions. Contractions is also something to do with delivery, but we're talking about contractions in the language. I am. Instead of I am hungry, you say I'm hungry. And it's not even I'm hungry, it's hungry. Funny. I'm hungry. This is the way to contract I am.
I'm hungry.
You say I'll instead of I will. I'll do that, I'll pick it up.
I'll be back.
But please don't use this contraction with names. You can't say Kate will do that. Kate will do that. The only way to say will with names is to say the whole thing. Kate will do that. You cannot use contractions with names. Instead of do not, you say don't. I don't like it. It's just the way to speed up your speech. I don't like it. Try and say it yourself. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I've instead of I have. I've got your back. I've done this before.
I am. I've got your back.
And I'd instead of I would. I'd like to join you. I'd like to stay home.
I'd like to know.
Pay attention to stress in your speech. What you notice right now is that I've emphasized the word stress because I want your attention on this word. Pay attention to stress. And this is what Americans do a lot. They either slow down when something important is going on, or they make their voice louder when they want to emphasize a word, or they just raise their intonation when something is really important. You see how I highlighted really with my speech. So that's also a hint for you to understand natives. They would always highlight the most important word with their intonation or loudness of their voice. Next tip, use slang. And yes, we've learned a lot of slang words with you, but I just want to emphasize that people use those slang words a lot because sometimes you learn them and you're in your country and you're like, okay, whatever. But then you start interacting with native speakers and suddenly they're like, do you want to hang out with me?
You want me to hang out with you?
And you're like, what was that? Hang out is to spend time together. Oh, we had a blast yesterday. It was an amazing party.
We're gonna have a blast.
And you're like, what does that mean? to have a blast means to have fun. So please rewatch my videos where I talk about slang words. They're really awesome. I love slang because it has a lot of culture in it. Rewatch them, try to use them in your speech when you're speaking with native speakers. And by the way, disclaimer here, if you're writing an academic essay, please don't use any of the rules that I mentioned in this video, because academic essays are all about being way too academic, boring, old-fashioned, and not the way you are in your real life, unfortunately, but these are the rules. And every cloud has a silver lining. If you know what I mean, then you've learned different idioms and proverbs and sayings. And this is another important thing to do when you're learning a foreign language. Always, always, always learn the idioms, because if somebody says, I'm feeling under the weather, and you're like, what does that mean? Because you can't figure out from just reading this idiom what it means, because to feel under the weather means to feel bad. But how are you supposed to figure it out? If it's sunny outside, if the sun is shining, and if the weather is amazing, how can feeling under the weather be a bad thing? But it is.
A little under the weather this morning.
Let's play by ear. What does that mean? How can we play by ear? The only way to understand it is to learn it. To play by ear means to look at circumstances, look at what's gonna happen, and then decide based on those things.
Let's play this one by ear.
So there are so many idioms and proverbs and sayings that I urge you to learn. Again, I have a lot of videos on that, and you can rewatch them. Thank you so much for watching this video up to the very end, guys. And if we want to be more proficient in English, if we want to sound like natives, we're gonna say see ya. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video if you've enjoyed the content. See ya.